Abe Vagoda, Abe Vagoda, Abe Vagoda, you're the fucking man. Abe Vagoda, Abe Vagoda, Abe Vagoda, you're the fucking man. Hey, Abe Vagoda, Abe Vagoda, Abe Vagoda, you're the fucking man. Hey, how we doing, everybody? It's your old Uncleboi Tommy here, or Thomas or Tom. How are you? I'm doing all right. If you notice, I got a little bit of a hoarse voice, and it is because I went on a trip to see a wrestling show Wednesday. Today is Friday, September 24th, I believe, the year of our Lord 2021. And I hope everybody's doing good. I hope everybody's all right. Dude, I am on cloud nine, just processing and resonating on the trip that I just took with my homie Tony, who scored tickets to AEW Dynamite, which is a wrestling show that is on TNT. If you guys like wrestling, but like are tired of the way Vince McMahon kind of made wrestling, where he took the sort of pro wrestling part out of what we grew up with, and maybe put in like a little his brand of sports entertainment, pal, into it. So if you probably like more of the, honestly, it feels a lot like WCW Nitro. So if you were a fan of WCW Nitro in the 90s, and let's say you've been out of wrestling for a while, and what the hell, you might want to kill 2 hours with content, a couple hours with content a week, or just want to like look into something, or you enjoyed wrestling as a kid and want to get back into it. I think this is like almost a great show for you. Or if you're just somebody who loves wrestling, period, or anyway, I think it's a great show. That they should probably be paying me to say this, and I'm giving them free advertising. Not that like too many people listen to my little YouTube show, podcast thing, whatever this is, which actually I want to bring to thing. Like, guys, do I call this a podcast? Do I call this a YouTube show? Do I call it online radio? I really don't know. I don't really care. Call it whatever you want. I just call it the Uncleboi Show. Welcome to the Uncleboi Show. Oh man, my Jimmy Durante voice is like, I'm wicked hoarse today. But it was because I was screaming the intro to or the entrance music to one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Mr. Chris Jericho, with my brother Tony, who, oh man, what a trip. I'll get more into that, but back into what I was just talking about here, about podcasts. And really, if you think about it, that's like, in the last 10 years, that's one of like the most consumed media things now. Like, people aren't listening to the radio in their car as much. They're listening to podcasts in their car. They're listening to like just some long form ones, and some are they vary. It's based on your interest. I think that's so cool. I think it's something that's like, it's certainly a little footnote for this little timeline we're in right now, for 2021, if you will, or for like really the last 5 years of just like how society keeps changing, and how, I mean, some of it's good, some of it's bad. I think some of it's disposable, which can be looked at as good or bad. But regardless, like, podcasts are really the tits right now. That's what people are loving. When you got like somebody like Joe Rogan getting a ridiculous 9-figure sum to 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 just do this, to just talk, and nothing against the. Well, I mean, a lot of you guys have something against the guy, and frankly, part of me does too. Like, he does give shitbirds a platform. I have no problem. Like, I know I talked politics in my last episode, which I kind of kicked myself for a little, just because I don't really want this to be a political. Uncleboi Show really, I don't think is like making it a political show doesn't really feel organic to me. It feel like that would feel forced. I mean, Uncleboi Show is it's me. I'm the Uncle Boy. I'm the kid. I'm the guy. I'm Thomas Elton Hardy. It's just one man yammering into his phone, talking about himself and whether it's my struggles, whether it's my joys, whether it's my my anything. It's just me blathering, and my obviously my influence and my motivation for this came from listening to other people do it, and other folks having one, friends of mine doing it. I got interviewed on one, which actually, here's a great podcast to check out, guys. If you like, especially if you like music on the Boston level or national level, or really just music in general. It's my buddy Christian Campagna has a great podcast called Talk About the Passion, and I love the fucking title. I'm sure, knowing him, and apologies that I'm fucking like not cool enough to know that it's most likely a song from somebody that I should know. Probably even a song from somebody whose like album I have, but it's like a track that like I might not have stuck out to me, or I've even heard it, but I'm just such a stoner that I'm like, oh, that tune, yeah, pardon, guys, I've consumed a lot of media in the last 25 fucking years, and so some of it bubbles right up to the frothy bong resin brim of my brain, and some of it gets lost in the back. Well, anyway, so it's called Talk About the Passion. Christian Campagna is my buddy, and he does these long form, some probably like an hour or more, some maybe a little bit shorter, but he just talks to people in the music world about like how they got into it, what they love, and man, he's one of those dudes who, like, when he came over and we chatted, and his Instagram handle was Caffeine and Cookies, so I wanted to make sure I had caffeine and cookies here for him, and because who doesn't love caffeine and cookies? God bless that man's heart, and God bless all your hearts for caffeine and cookies. But anyway, I mean, that kind of, I was like, man, this, like, I could probably do that, like, after having the discussion with them, because it was so much fun, just sitting around, and we talked about Kiss, and it got into, like, I got a little deep too, like, because he's such a friendly dude, and like, he's a guy with layers to him, like, I can tell, very similar to me, like, we're unique cats. But he's a dude who makes you really, really comfortable speaking with him. So I got pretty deep talking about recovery and my own personal journey, and how I got sober off of alcohol. And mind you, I say sober off of alcohol because I don't want to upset some of you folks in recovery that will say, yeah, you're sober. Yeah, right. Sober like what? Yeah, you're California sober. Like, listen, dude, if the idea that I use marijuana is you think I'm faking the funk being sober, that's fine, dude. Like, I'm not mad at that. I think there was a time early on I used to get offended when people would call me out like that, and I would have people very passive aggressively, people who I was very close to, that I loved, and I still love them people. So it's not like I'm not mad at them for them kind of like wagging the finger at me for using pot and staying sober. So I could call it California Sober, call it whatever, call it the marijuana maintenance program, which it's calling the program. But regardless, yeah. But anyway, like I said on that podcast, I got kind of deep about talking about my own recovery, which I may wind up talking about in the Uncleboi Show, because it is about me, and I may not. I don't know. I might not. Like, it might not even be something that gets talked about, because frankly, I'm sure there's a ton of great self-help podcasts out there. That's funny enough. Even like that's like that's an avenue I haven't explored in the podcast world. And the podcasts I listen to are generally like my own interest. Like I will listen to a music podcast like Christians. Like Talk About the Passion is a great podcast. I will listen to that, especially if he's speaking to somebody I know. But I've even like tapped into a couple of his shows of folks I didn't know. But when it was somebody I knew, like it was I'm gonna give a couple of early shout outs here, not in my shout out section of the show yet, but a couple of early shout outs. Mr. Keith Bennett was a great episode. Mr. Chris Jajer. I probably am mispronouncing your name, buddy. I've met this cat a few times over the years. Great guitar player in some bands that I've seen, and just a really super good guy. Another huge Kiss Army veteran like myself. We're vets of the Kiss Army since we were wee high. Love talking to that cat about like Ace and the solo albums and our favorite Kiss songs, all that. Anyway, Keith Bennett, Chris G, Amy Shaw, Amy on the brain. Angie Shaw had a great episode, which I found fascinating as hell, being a kid who really as a kid, I didn't think I'd be talented enough to play music or be in a band, or I didn't know if that was maybe on a small level I wanted that, but I didn't know if that obviously and I really secretly wanted to be in radio. So hearing her and her being able to live out her childhood dream of doing that was great, and she's such a just such a cool lady that it was awesome like listening to her and her episode of Christian's show. Oh, by the way, Christian, that check better be in the mail, man, because I'm giving you mad time on the Uncleboi Show, brah. Come on, man, I gotta keep the lights on around here, kid. No way. I'd forget. I would shout from the rooftops if it would get my boy some clicks for absolutely nothing. Anyway. Yeah, so like I was saying, the way we but back to it, it's the way we consume media these days is really interesting to me, and kind of interested in what anybody would think of what you would even call this. I'm uploading all of this to YouTube just because that's what I know how to do. I don't know how to do that, get it on Spotify. I don't know how to get it on any other platforms. I don't know that I should or shouldn't, or really I am a complete novice and rookie at this stuff. And luckily with said trip, like I was talking about earlier with Tony's got some experience in this field and has done stuff. Please, Tone, drop links in the comments for anything that you want to plug, by the way. My man Tony is making a Spooky World doc that I got. I'm not going to spoil nothing for you folks, but let's just say that your Uncleboi, because that's my brother Tony, he showed me some stuff. Guys, this documentary, if you ever went to Spooky World, I unfortunately never did. As much as I love horror and as much as I love just all things sort of kitschy and fun and silly about horror and gore movies and stuff, I never went to Spooky World, honestly, and it wasn't for any other reason other than it would have been something I would have been down with, but I think maybe I just had too much fun at the time hanging out with local my own local hooligans and as a teen, and unfortunately Spooky World is no more. It was only a thing for a handful of years there, and Tony is is part of a team that is making a very cool documentary on it, and I can't wait for you guys to see it, especially you folks who went there and have good memories of it, your childhood or whatever, or taking your kids there or what have you. It was really, really freaking cool. I can't wait to see the finished product when it's ready. Which Tony, please drop all the links in my comments. I plug the hell out of all your shit. You too, Christian. Or maybe I can figure out how to. I'm such a once again, I'm a novice with this whole thing. Pretty gregarious person, very sort of. I don't mind being the center of attention for anything, but at the same time, I have little to no skill at pushing myself and sort of marketing things for myself or anybody else. How I've met as many people as I have and had people garner any interest in anything I've ever done is completely by accident. It's just the nature of who I am created that a little bit, and that's I don't know if that sounds narcissistic. It's just I've always been a people person. You could ask my best friend Mick. I think I talked to you guys about going to Buffalo, New York at one point for a wedding. Well, that was the wedding I went to. My best friend from high school, his name's Mick Davidson, and he was one of the grumpiest shits ever as a kid, which I love about him. It's just this guy was like Statler and Waldorf. We were kind of Statler and Waldorf, except I was like the happy-go-lucky ho-hum, and he was the grumpy fuck. We're like Bizarro, Jay, and Silent Bob. He's the sharpest, one of the wittiest people I've ever met in my life. He's by proxy of hanging out with him, I'm funnier and sharper because in my head, my internal dialogue, sometimes I hear my guy's voice, and it's actually helped me out making this my own show, because in my head, I will always hear Mick's voice sometimes, as an aside and laughing about something I just said and ready to just destroy me or destroy something. And anyway, why was I bringing you up, Mick? Oh, I was bringing Mick up as he can be he can tell you that from the time I was 9 or 10, I was always just very outgoing. I always wanted to meet people. I think when I was at times I would always I would do it almost to my detriment sometimes, where I would try to be nice and cool to people that probably didn't exactly deserve such, or even they were nasty to me. I remember there was a kid in high school, Derek, who for whatever reason stopped talking to kids from junior high that he was friends with. There was a lot of racial tension at Somerville High at the time, and I think it was because we were white guys. That was why he didn't want to talk to us, Derek being an African-American kid. And I remember sitting at the lunch table with Mick one time, and I was like, hey, what's up, Derek? And he ignored me, just totally shined me. So I said it again, and Mick was like, dude, just don't talk to somebody who doesn't want to talk to you. It was you're just embarrassing yourself. And the funny part about it was I wasn't embarrassed. I was sad. I was sad because that's a guy I liked, used to joke with and have a good time with, sitting next to him in class and stuff. And now because there was, maybe he saw me as, I probably was too friendly with people that, he saw as maybe not being, maybe being kind of racist, and they might have been, or might not have been. Honestly, he just might have just, and also that's also just me assuming that that's why he didn't want to fucking speak to me. Maybe he just didn't want to speak to nobody from before, and was just I'm only trying to meet new people. Who knows? But regardless, we were 16 years old, and who knows why people do things what they do when you're 16? For Christ's sakes, the things that I do 4 things before breakfast that I have no idea why the hell I do. But anyway, I'll always remember that Mick being yeah, don't speak to anybody that doesn't want to speak to you. He's like, he goes, I don't even like speaking. I remember him saying this. I don't even like speaking to people that actually do want to speak to me. And started laughing at like the absurd thought of it. But that was really what I was wrapping this up with. Had nothing to do with Derek and by the way, Derek Tillman, I hope you're doing awesome out there wherever you're at. I don't know why you didn't want to speak to me for a few years there. And that always did kind of stick with me just for this story, but it was just more so just because of the dichotomy of me and Mick's friendship. Me and Mick are very different people. Very different. Couldn't be more polar opposite at times, but at the same time, like, that's my brother, and I love him like you have no idea. And he would like that's a ride or die right there. Yes, I'm getting emotional, Mick. Yes, you are mocking me right now so bad, but I know deep down you're also like, you're also like psyched you're hearing your name, because you're a total narcissistic prick and a jackass. No. No, you're actually the opposite. But yeah, but that always like hit me, like the dichotomy of mine and his friendship. The idea that like, I want to give the whole world a hug, even the people that don't like me. Sometimes especially so, because maybe they need it. Regardless of me liking them or not, or them liking me, like, they just might be in a bad way and could use a fucking hug, or could use a laugh, or could use something, and that's just the way I operate. Whereas Mick is like, fuck you. He's like, buddy, I like 3 people, and you know what? The way I like the amount I even like them on a day-to-day basis is Mick. By the way, I gotta do an episode of his when he's down here sometime, of just he and I talking, just so you can hear the way our rapport is, because you would actually think, if we were sitting here talking, just having a conversation, that we're enemies. The names we call each other, the things we say to each other, are things that it's like, you would actually think a punch is going to get thrown, and it could. Probably from his end. I'm really not violent, even though I can, I'm a big guy, and I have been in my time. I mean, especially like, there was a brief period in my mid-20s where I learned a few like little things, like how to fight, and like a couple of, nothing big, but just like a few like judo and jiu-jitsu moves and shit like that, to like sort of use somebody else's body weight against them, and kind of lean my and use my own to my advantage with such. Not like I was some fucking MMA dude or like anything really, but enough that like I could do this and put it into play. And I wouldn't call myself ever a violent person or somebody that could fight, but at least like the few times in my life that I actually had to, I was like, oh wow, I guess I could be an ass kicker if I wanted. A minor ass kicker, like, you know what I mean? On the ass kicking level, like, I would be like a fucking 2.5, and that's being generous. And that's just because, like, before I was a negative, like 120, because even the idea, the thought of like being physically violent with anyone is just repulsive to me. I don't know why. It was always just a thing. Like, I just never liked the idea of balling up my fist and hitting somebody. And I think even in the times that I have, which, you have to sometimes, especially growing up in Somerville, because the only time sometimes to get somebody to stop punching you is to punch them the fuck back. There were many times I didn't do that in my life, where I just wouldn't punch them back. I just let them wallop on me, and, because honestly, it was just like, that really doesn't, like, they're really not hurting me that bad. Maybe I got a good chin or whatever, but like, I never got like knocked out or anything from anybody's punch or kick or whatever. I took a few good kicks to my head once, but never nothing that was like that bad, as it were. Yeah, so me and Mick could have gotten physical a few times. He could have picked a hand, as Rob Van Dam would say. Pick a hand, bro. I got to use that once. That was awesome. I forget where it was, but somebody had made like a pedophilia joke or something like that, which is depending on the like reading the room or the joke or whatever, is just something that's that hits home for me. And I asked them to pick a hand, and they're like, "What?" I says, "Pick a hand, right or left." They're like, "Well, why?" I goes, "Because that's what I'm gonna fucking punch you with. Pick a hand." And they like walked away. I felt like a badass. I'm not gonna lie. I also, this was back when I drank too. I think I had just. Oh no. Well, did I drink or I had just quit? No. I'm sorry. I was sober at the time, but I was still hanging out with people who did drink, and obviously alcohol was what made them say that. They came up to me later and apologized, and then I apologized too because I realized it was like it was fucking childish to do. That was my own foolish bravado, trying to. With the who am I kidding? Like, I'm not gonna punch this guy in the head for making a dumb, awful joke, or like, it wasn't even that bad, honestly, because I think I actually heard him wrong. And then when like he explained himself, I was kind of the one being the dick. Regardless, I even forget the fucking dude's name. This was about, I want to say, 13. No, not 13. Couldn't have been that long ago because I didn't hear the Rob Van Dam shoot interview that I stole it from. So the context of the story, the whole pick a hand thing. All right, there's a pro wrestler named Rob Van Dam and a pro wrestler named Taz. Apparently, Taz had pissed Rob Van Dam off so bad once that he went up to him and asked him to pick a hand. And dude was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because I'm going to fucking punch you. Pick a hand, right or left." And I just think that's hilarious. It's just like a funny, like absurd thing to say to someone. But also kind of badass and cool. And I'm sure, I think both of them have told the tale. So, because they're like friends now. But anyway, back to the New York trip. Tony, AEW, New Haven, Connecticut was our first stop. We got a hamburger at the place that made the first hamburger, Louis Lunch, in New Haven, and it was pretty freaking good. I'm not gonna lie, it was simple, but it was worth the money. The little place it was busy as hell in there when we went. We got our burger, got a nice birch beer. And it was a solid stop. We also grabbed Modern Pizza. We got pizza there because Tony, I'd never had. I'd had Pepe's before, Frank Pepe's, but I never had Modern, and I think Modern is way better. Pepe's is good. Don't get me wrong. Some people don't like that burnt crust. I love it. I think for whatever reason it's tasty, and I'm a crust guy too. Like, as a guy who, funny enough, the only thing I eat cheese on is pizza. It's only mozzarella. Modern do this. It's called a plain pizza there, and I believe it's grated Parmesan and oregano over this amazing pizza sauce. I call it pasta sauce, you fucking dick. Pizza sauce and great dough, and it was just perfect. It was so good. And then we, over the bridge and into Queens, and our Airbnb was great. It was in Flushing, huge Asian community there. It was like just fun walking around it. It really, in a lot of ways, like New York is awesome. I don't gotta tell you anybody who ain't been there. New York is great. It's so fucking cool. Yeah. So we go there. Then from there, we get to the Airbnb. It was awesome. We then go to the show. The show was absolutely amazing. Guys, I was lucky enough. The first ever wrestling match I went to My dad took my brother, my cousin Michael, The Rock, and I to see wrestling and it was February 6th, 1985. And the main event was Bruno Sammartino in the steel cage versus Roddy Piper. I'm a Piper guy. I was a Piper guy and a Hogan guy. A lot of people, would pick I loved all wrestlers back then. I loved the bad guys just as much as the good guys, and so did my dad. He just he used to enjoy, he'd just laugh. I would love sitting there, like, cross-legged in front of the TV while my dad's on the couch or the chair and hearing the bad guys, be it Heenan or Piper or the Grand Wizard or Albano when he was bad. My dad loved Albano. He would just laugh the second he came on TV, or Blassie or any of the bad guys, the villains. Hearing my dad laugh at the villains, it was like the same way I felt the first time I saw my dad laughing at John Belushi. A very similar vibe, which I was like, shit, my dad has this great laugh too. Anybody who's been around him, I kind of have it, but my dad's laugh is big and loud and definitely an anagram of him. Just a big, loud and boisterous type. But not that he can also be very reserved at times. But I don't know. You'd have to meet Ed. You'd have to meet the Buffer to really know. But anyway. Like I was saying, so I was at that one, but the greatest match that I had ever gotten to see was earlier in the night. I got to see Randy Macho Man Savage win his first WWF belt, the Intercontinental Championship, using the foreign object, slid in from Elizabeth, and we couldn't believe what we saw because it was a house show. And you didn't really get to see belt changes too much back then, or things like that. So, and then it was on TV the next week, and that was the best wrestling match I was ever in attendance for up until last week. Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan was the best wrestling match I was ever in attendance for. It was the very first one. I thought they blew their load a little early putting that on, but man, they kept shooting their shot, and it was such a great show overall. Still, we had such a good time, hence my lack of voice. I was even screaming at the end. I'm going to release this, I think, before AEW Rampage is on the air Friday night, so I'm not going to tell you what the end was, but I was screaming at the end, too, just as loud as I was screaming during that match. And, God bless AEW for making a great pro wrestling show for great pro wrestling fans. And that Queens crowd a New York crowd, man. And it's not even the chants. It's not even because sure, there was some chants, but whatever. It wasn't even that. It was just everybody having such fucking fun, yelling, screaming, and Christ, it was so awesome. It was so freaking cool. And then we, after the show, we took the 2.5 mile walk back to the Airbnb, and that was so cool. Just the pulse of the city. Getting to feel that again after a long time was, even though New York has changed quite a bit, it's still since. I think it might have been 2005 last time I might have been there, gone to see friends' bands and shit in the city. But anyway, it was just awesome. The 2.5 mile walk back was great. Then the next day, we were right down the street from a place called the Wrestling Universe, which, if you guys are pro wrestling fans or just, want to see some cool old toys and shit like that, I'm a collector of LJN mostly. LJN are a toy company from the 80s. They really got notarized, or no. Yeah, they really got noticed in the toy industry, I would say, for their E.T. toys. They were the Michael Jackson doll that came out, and a few others, I think. I think they had the A-Team. I think they had the... Oh, no, I think that might have been Galoob. Anyway, which is funny, they made wrestling toys also. Regardless, LJN made pro wrestling toys. And they weren't the first. The first were Remco. Remco made AWA wrestlers first. They got in the door. The Remco toys were shaped like He-Man figures, which back when I was little, I actually thought was way cooler because you could mix them up you could fight them with your He-Man guys, and you could make a fig fed with your He-Man. And LJN also had the Karate Kid line too, which are also awesome toys that I'm a big Karate Kid lover, and I guess some people say hater of that movie because it's corny and cheesy, but I love the Karate Kid so much, and I always loved Cobra Kai. Even as a kid, like, I thought Cobra Kai looked cooler and had the cooler unis and shit. I always and seeing that show blow up is great. But anyway, back to the wrestling. So the wrestling universe was a stop where me and Tone were like, sort of like, if you will, bullet pointing what we were going to do the next day. Because, we'd get out of the Airbnb early afternoon, and, after our coffee, and we get ourselves ready, whatever. Happy birthday, Aunt Beth. I sent a happy birthday message to her, but I'll do it on the Uncleboi podcast. That was like another thing that morning. So one of the places, we were right down the street from this place, the Wrestling Universe. And I'm wearing my LJN jacket down there. I wore it for Tony as a laugh. And I figured, what the hell, we're going to a wrestling show, and LJN, where Chalkline makes these like vintage vinyl jackets. And I saw an LJN one for relatively short money, and I was like, all right, dude, that's like made for me. So I grabbed it. Anyway, so I figured, I'm wearing it down there. I'm like, shit, you know what? I was like, Tony, I think there's that Wrestling Universe place. I think it's in Queens. It was actually right down the street from our Airbnb. We went there. I was like, you know what? They might have LJNs there. They might not. I walk in, and not only did they have one, there's 3 right now that are like my... So I got my Holy Grail. My Holy Grail LJN was a Haku. Haku was a wrestler in the 80s. He was King Tonga first. Some of you guys, older fans, might know him as. And then he was Haku after. And after Harley Race left WWE, WWF at the time, he made Haku king. And you couldn't really think of... They were the 2 guys, as the legend tells it, they were the 2 guys that Andre was actually afraid of. Haku is one of the baddest men walking the planet, as legend would tell you. There's several stories of guys trying to get into a bar fight with him and him biting their face off and things like that, like just on double tough ass kicker. So he was my Holy Grail. My next Holy Grail would have been either the singlet Andre wearing a black singlet like in WrestleMania 3, or the Big Boss Man. Big Boss Man was there, folks. It wasn't totally out of my price range. I was like, you know what? I'm never going to see that in the wilds for that price. And the guy even told me, he's like, yeah, definitely not. And I looked at him. He was clean. The guy I sold it to, I believe his name's Jack Sabbath. Dude, you are the man. You rule. Like, what a nice, friendly dude. Guys, Wrestling Universe in Flushing, Queens. What an awesome time. I even said it like he probably would in New York. Awesome. What an awesome time me and Tony had going in there. Not only did he have that, but he had a referee figure, which was another one that I needed to cross off my list. And he's like, what else you need? You need anybody else? We'll talk deals. And he gave me a really good deal on a Tito Strike Force figure, which is just the regular Tito Santana LJN, but they repainted him as in his white trunk. So I got to cross all three of those off the list, and all three of them in really good shape too. Tito got a little love. He got played with a little bit, but he's in great shape, and for the price I got, let me tell you. The ref figure's great, but the boss man, getting to come home with him was, oh my God, what a cool little thing for a guy who's out there like chasing these white whales that are LJN figures. So the appeal of these figures are nothing really looks like them. They're these big sort of chew toys, they get called, because they're big and rubber. Some of you kids in the 80s might remember them because, they had the ring for them, it was this huge, awesome toy. But also, these were these big rubber figures that could basically be used as a weapon or a chew toy. I used to chew the shit out of my figures as my, teeth were, maturing as a young guy. I would just chew everything. I chewed on rubber and plastic and pens and just relentlessly chew things. I think looking back on it, it was probably an ADD thing or whatever. But, yeah. Anyway. I chewed the shit out of my wrestling figures as a kid. Mostly Junkyard Dog, for whatever reason. His hand was fun to chew. I just remember that. Anyway, yeah, a little oral fixation deal. Maybe that's why I love the Ganj so much and used to smoke cigarettes. But as it were, getting to come home with that was great. Got some great pics of myself in front of it doing the Tommy Dreamer hands out Christ pose with my LJN jacket, and it was really cool. Just an awesome time, awesome experience there. Jack Sabbath, Wrestling Universe, you rule. Thank you for. And the other cool thing that happened was he posted a pic of it, and of course, anybody who knows me, I love making goofy faces in all of my pics. Partly because I used to hate getting my picture taken. A lot of it just insecurity of being the fat kid, and just insecurity anyway, just feeling well, I don't want to take a picture, or yeah, so that was a thing. But I started, but as I got older, I started not liking it, but just what, just goof off with it and have people, because people will look at that and smile. Anyway, so he takes a picture with me for his. So if you go on the Wrestling Universe Instagram, he put a pic of me up holding up my figures. And Matt Cardona, who, I guess wrapping this up, this goes into how we consume media and podcasts. Matt Cardona was Zack Ryder in WWE. He has this amazing podcast all about wrestling figure collecting, which single-handedly has dramatically upped the value on all these guys. So it's almost like, hey, thanks, dude. You made my fun little hobby a lot more expensive. But still, the way he talks about it and how passionate he is about it, he's one of us, man. Zack Ryder is the fucking dude. I love Matt Cardona. I loved him in WWE. I love him even way more now that he's out there on the indies killing it, because this is who he is. He's that Long Island IZ guy now. He's creative got nothing for you, chains are off, bro, and he's out there killing it right now. The GCW champion, he liked the photo, and it was oh my God, that's so cool. As he would call, if his podcast is called the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, and it's him and another wrestler, Kurt Hawkins, WWE, Brian Myers, the Prince of Queens. We're right near, brother. We were right there. We were right there in your neighborhood. You fucking love Queens. Queens is awesome. Anyway, yeah. as it were, he liked the thing, and it was like, just talk about putting a great capper on an amazing trip. But we're not done. We're not done. So one of the things that, like, I always kind of wanted to, another place I always wanted to see that I'd never seen, even every time I've been in New York, was Coney Island. Because I'm a huge Warriors fan. And I know I have New York friends who actually make fun of that movie constantly. Yeah, that movie sucks. Why you guys like that shit? I'm like, I just think it's a great movie, and it was fun, and I loved it as a kid. I used to make my dad rent it from East Coast Video in Union Square, Somerville, all the time, because it was just an awesome movie. It was just, it captivated my little sensibilities at the time. And my dad was like, whatever. He's like, my dad didn't even like the movie, but I liked it, so he would rent it for me because my dad was awesome like that. Anyway, the true reason why I love that movie so much probably is because my cousin Eddie, who was like the guy I sort of worshipped when I was a young guy. He was my cousin who was 5 years older than me, so everything Eddie thought was cool, I thought was cool. I loved that movie because Eddie loved it so much, and it was like, I love that we shared. I used to actually call him up and talk to him about characters in the movie and stuff, and like while I was watching it and stuff. And God bless his heart, sitting there talking to his like 5 year younger than him. You know, I was probably like 9 at the time. He was probably like 14 or 15, and he's like, this kid. But, you know, my cousin Ed loves me, and love him too, and that was just, you know, that was for Zeke too, because I'm sure Zeke was a Warriors fan. Eddie, you know. Yeah, so I got to go there. I got to take some pics in front of the Wonder Wheel and on the boardwalk. And, you know, I got a little emotional getting down there, just like sitting there in the car with Tone, telling stories about being kids, and honestly just talking about my cousin Ed. And Ed's a character, man. Ed's one of them rare dudes who you definitely only meet one Eddie J. Hardy in your life. Let me tell you, my cousin, he's something else. But you know, and he can be a real pain in the ass too, just like just like all of us. But I'll tell you, you know, an awesome dad, awesome guy. Has faced some adversity, but is going on it. Is just out there killing it like a champ. It was just, so naturally I got a little emotional in the car, just because I'm an emotional guy. What can I say? Yeah, I got that. I'm quick to laugh. I'm quick to tears. It's just, that's Uncleboi for you, you know? But trust you me, it's all love. It's all love. And Tony, you know, getting to take me there, and we, you know, of course we had a hot dog at Nathan's, and he told me some funny stories of his last time there. I'll let him tell those on a podcast sometime. Maybe me and Tone will have you know, who knows? Maybe next time they do AEW Dynamite does a Grand Slam at the Arthur Ashe Arena, and we go have a Queens trip take 2. Yeah, man, we'll podcast from Coney. That'd be cool. Anyway, yeah. So New York trip was just out of this world. I couldn't have been happier. Amazing company, amazing time. Just out of this world. Great. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna, you know, wrap this up pretty soon here now, because it's getting to that like sort of magic button time. I guess these are each getting longer as they go on. My first one was only like 25 minutes. This one's only what is it? This one's getting close to 50 minutes now, isn't it? Shit. Yeah. I'm going to wrap this up and start, you know, I think something I did last time that I guess I'm just going to format, I guess. Like I said, man, I'm a rookie at this. I'm still learning how to make the Uncleboi Show. I'm certainly willing to take any advice, anyone, especially any of my friends who also make podcasts. Any advice you guys might want to throw your old Uncleboi, please, please do. I am just literally winging it with these. But one thing I did last time that I want to continue, like almost format into the show, is the shout outs. And I'm going to throw some of those out there to some of you folks. I want to shout out my cousin Dennis and my cousin John. I spoke about Eddie earlier. I spoke about cousin Mike last time. Hell yeah, man! I gotta shout out my other brothers, my cousins who I grew up with, who love like you. You don't even know. I mean, the way I look at it is, I used to call us the Sinister Six, being the comic book nerd that I am. There were 6 of us cousins who we all grew up with blocks from each other. 3 brothers, oldest being Eddie, middle one being John. John's a month older than me, so we were always the same grade. And Dennis, and then Michael, who's the same age as us, and my brother Brian. So there was the 6 of us. I used to say Sinister Six, just because the Spider-Man bad guys. So big shout out to Johnny Slug Hattie, and Lil Denny Hattie. Big shout out to them. I love yous. You guys are my brothers, and I told you about like how I internalize my best bud Mick's voice all the time. I always internalize one of their voices, be it my brother, Michael, John, Dennis, or Eddie's voice in my head sometimes, as like fucking with me about something I might say, do, or whatever, just because, they were my brothers, and they were like very influential in my life. And also, I guess we had baby siblings too. 2 of them, 2 little cousins who grew up right up the road. First baby I ever held in my arms when I was 8 years old, baby L. Lauren Huckins, and her kid brother Stevie. They were the 2 younger ones who we had older cousins from who didn't live in Somerville, who we were close to too. Shout out them as well: Barbara, Ellen, Mary, Zeke, love you to death. Joey, Michelle, love you to death. Maureen. We had they were a little bit older than us, and they were from other like nearby suburban towns, so we didn't see them quite as much, just at family parties and stuff like that, but we're always very close with them too, and nothing but love for all of them. But the Sinister Six and the two baby cuzzos, we were the ones, we were just in each other's grill all day, all the time. Love the Hardy family to death, let me tell you. I mean, it was something being able to grow up with such a big, loud Irish Catholic family who, I think just like me, we're all quick to laugh, quick to tears. We're all different. We all get very sometimes abrasive opinions, but at the same time, we might fight each other. We might fight amongst each other sometimes and get in each other's face. Anybody tries to jump on us, they got to take the whole pack on. So big shout outs there. Obviously, the shout out, the brother, Tony Landry, my guy, my dude. You made that trip. Uncleboi was in a tough spot a couple months back. I was recovering from a hurt knee. I kind of put some weight back on after losing some. As anybody who might know me, I've been struggling with my weight my whole life. Still am. Is what it is. Listen, it's one of the crosses I bear. I was just in a bad way, and I, went through the coping mechanisms that I have built for myself to come out of that. And I really have come out of it. I stopped catastrophizing everything. I started writing everything down, and I started remembering that no matter what the boogeymen in my head tell me, they're fucking liars. They are. The depression tells you you're alone. You're not. Depression tells you it's not worth it. It is. Depression tells you it doesn't get better. It does. And always remember that. And Brother Tony, this trip, was just what I needed at the perfect time. And, brother, Uncle Boy gotcha. Anyway, so I'll stop getting so sappy and emotional and all that. But, so those are my shout outs. I want everybody to get out there, have as much fun as you can when you can, work as hard for what you want when you want it. And, nothing comes easy, so grind for it. You got to work hard for something. You got to take that extra shift at work so you can buy that. Then, you know what? You do it. You do what you have to do to get by. But, man, enjoy yourself, because don't live without joy. And always wash your ass. That's one thing I forgot to say last time. And it really should be and I'm going to make sure I try to say it every episode. Wash your ass. Because our asses stink. Man, I'll tell you, what is it about gym shorts and basketball shorts that just, if you wear them for too long, you sweat into them, your ass stinks. They're comfy, they're stretchy, I get it, but your ass stinks. Wash your pucky. Keep your pucky clean. You only get so many squats in your life. Keep your pucky clean and be nice to your mother. I got my mother so mad. Well, didn't really get her mad. So she listened to the Uncleboi podcast, episode 2, and she didn't think the scat bit was funny. Solo community access, scat TV, because I would walk by the scat TV building in the 2000s, after I found out what scat was a term for shit porn. And I would laugh every time I looked at it walking to the bus to work, because I grew up right across the street. So I'd laugh every time I saw it. And my mother yelled at me, "That's not funny. It's not funny. Not funny. That's stupid. What's wrong with you?" So I'm sorry, Ma. I'm sure I said a bunch of shit here you don't think is funny, too. I love you, Ma. You're the best. Thank you for everything. Huge shout out to my mother, Kathy Hardy, the OG, the one who's, been the linchpin of the Hardy clan. The Warriors are a gang. The leader of my gang is my mother. And she's the boss. She's my Cyrus. So there it is. The Uncleboi Show. I hope you guys are good. Be well. Oswald was a patsy. And clean your pucky. Uncleboi, over and out.